4 years since the inception of the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, Acting Chief Justice Raymond Zondo handed over the first part of the report to President Cyril Ramaphosa yesterday. The first installment of the report implicates U.S. management consultancy firm eNCA and former SARS boss Tom Moyane in state capture. The Commission recommends that Moyane be prosecuted for lying to Parliament. So for more on this now, I'm joined by state capture whistleblower and author Athol Williams. Athol, always a pleasure speaking to you. A very good afternoon. I mean, certainly some of these are findings as well by the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, and what Raymond Zondo has actually said, judge therefore, speaking specifically to your former employees, Bain and Co. When you're listening, when you've read this, how do you feel at this moment in time? Surely there must be a certain sign of relief that after everything you've been through, that someone somewhere somehow is able to account or make it count for you.
Yes, Faith, it's a mix of emotions. Firstly, I'm still very sad that my former employer, Bain & Company, would be involved in these heinous activities that we're involved in. So for me, that's a tragedy. There are a lot of good people at Bain who have now been dragged into this mess because of a few within the firm. I do feel excited for our country because I think we've taken a big step forward in our pursuit of truth and justice. It's one step, there are many more steps to come. But I think truth precedes justice. We need to know what happened and then use that information to actually then let our justice system do its work and prosecute. So, mix of emotions. I feel that the investment I've made over the last 2.5 years has borne some fruit. I would have wanted to see stronger recommendations of individuals who should be prosecuted. But I do think the Commission has in mind something which is quite interesting, which I hope we will talk about when we talk about one of the recommendations.
Yeah, I mean, we're speaking here about how, we should be actually watching the wheels of justice turn. One such, Tom Moyane, is saying that indeed he should be prosecuted for lying to Parliament. But just in terms of your experience in this, I think that sometimes as civilization, as people, we forget, and we forget very quickly about what it took for you and the sacrifices that you had to encounter just to get us to the truth. So, jog our memories. What have you gone through just to get to this point where the truth is heard?
Gosh, it's so hard to even talk about it because it's been such a painful, long journey. But it started with me being a highly paid senior partner at Bain with an amazing career ahead of me of amassing great wealth and doing great things, supposedly, sitting at my desk, realizing that my beloved employer that I joined when I was 25 years old has been involved in state capture, has been involved in colluding with the former president and with people like Tom Moyane to actually do harm to our democracy and to our state. That for me was just an awful experience. And then to decide what to do. And I think most people, or many people, would have just said, well, not my problem, I'll keep doing my job. But for me, I couldn't do that because I was not going to be part of damage to our society, to our country, and to our state institutions. So I immediately resigned. The moment I got the sense that Bain were withholding information from authorities and they actually were involved in some of these heinous crimes, I resigned and then went public. And to be honest, Faith, I didn't know what I was stepping into. I thought I was stepping into a little breeze and I'll hand over some documents and move on with my life. And actually what I stepped into was a hurricane and my entire life was turned upside down and in many ways my career destroyed. I've not worked for the last 2.5 years. I've not had any income. I've had no support from any institution, government or business, no legal help, no medical help, no financial help. And yet I've had to constantly work on my affidavit for many months, deal with investigators, prepare for testimony, deal with follow-up questions, speak to the media, keep advocating for justice. It's been relentless. It's been nonstop. And then to the point of realizing that my government is not going to protect me, no matter how many times I speak up saying I fear for my life, they won't protect me. And then to get to that tragic point for me, after everything I've done for my country, to then feel I've got to leave the country for my own safety. And so for me, it's been hell. It's been terrible. I've cried. You know, my mother and I spend so much time on Christmas morning in tears because she is in Cape Town. She fears for my life, and she feels, again, my country's let me down. But I did that for the good of our nation and our people, and I would do it again.
Athol, do you feel as though, or do you believe that indeed justice will be served when it comes to the recommendations here of the state capture of inquiry report being now handed over to President Cyril Ramaphosa with the view of the public? Do you believe that state agencies will actually do their part and bring to book some of those people that have been implicated? The likes where even the recommendation even says that SARS Act should be amended to provide for an open, transparent and competitive process for the appointment of the commissioner, and that indeed Mr. Moyane, who we're speaking about today, must be charged with perjury in relation to false evidence to Parliament. Do you believe we're going to see that happening, Mr. Moyane himself being charged with perjury in relation to this, or do you feel as though, based on experience, that perhaps your government will fail you once again?
We don't have a good track record, right? I mean, by any objective measure, we don't have a very good track record. Just look at the Bain and SARS and Moyane case. We had the Nugent Commission in 2018. That was 4 years ago. And there were no prosecutions and no further investigations based on that. So we don't have a good track record. I'm concerned about the capacity our law enforcement authorities have to conduct investigations and prosecute, like the rest of us are. And so what I'm really looking closely, in addition to the recommendations from the Zondo Commission, looking very closely at what the President says to Parliament when he addresses Parliament in terms of his actions. Because if it's not a major resourcing up of our law enforcement capabilities, I think we are then just fooling ourselves. And this commission would have been a waste of time. I don't think it's a waste of time right now, because I think there's intrinsic value in truth, but that truth needs to be converted into justice and action. And so the President needs to take this very seriously about resourcing up our prosecuting authorities, our law enforcement, and also resourcing up capability to support whistleblowers. Failing that, Faith, it's really hard to see how anything happens differently than what we've seen in the past.
Athol, let me ask you this before I let you go. Do you still fear for your life? And are you still under threat?
My difficulty was I never received a direct death threat. But I was not going to wait until someone had a gun to my head before I did something about my safety. There's enough circumstantial evidence that suggests, well, I'm getting no protection, right? Right now, as a whistleblower, if I'm in trouble, if I need help, there's no number to call, there's no agency looking out for my safety and my care. So I've got no help on that front. Also, we've seen examples of where whistleblowers have been killed. And I've been told by people, by experts, that I'm in danger. So nothing's changed, Faith. And I'm desperately keen to come home. I want to be home. That's where my home is. And that's when I keep fighting for justice in our country. But until that action is taken by our government to offer me protection, I see no sensible, logical way for me to return home, which for me is a tragedy.
We'll leave it there. Athol Williams, state capture whistleblower as well as author, just giving us his reaction to now the report that has come out. And of course, as this report, as well as developments of the reports come out, we'll be sure to give you up-to-date information regarding that. But